It is hour number 2, live right here on this Tuesday morning on the early line. We're still live here in person, in studio together. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. 2 more hours to go up until 11 a.m. Eastern time on this Tuesday on TEL. Our focus for the better part of the last month has been on college basketball. The season has now come to a close. We'll get some closing thoughts to tie the bow on this campaign in Connecticut's dominance in our third hour when the coach, James Young, JY, steps up and in. Also live in person right here in studio. We'll also be here to look at the NBA regular season's home stretch. Only 5 days remain. Sunday, the regular season finale around the association, with the postseason very much on the horizon. Major League Baseball, pretty much 2 weeks into this 2024 campaign. 13 games yesterday, DRS, around the diamond, and we'll break it down here. In-state showdown, divisional rivalry between those two teams from Texas, the Rangers and the Astros. The ending of a 4-game set yesterday in Arlington, and the Astros win the final 2 games of the series yesterday. High-scoring affair. Houston victorious 10-5 over Texas, well over a total that was booked pregame in that matchup at 9.
I thought that game would stay under, but also thrown for a little bit of loop here. You might have won the battle with Houston going to 10-5 win over the Texas Rangers, as we told you coming into yesterday, in dead last place, tied with the Athletics. They love that victory, but Framber Valdez scratched from his start. Elbow issues, which is a recurring theme here in 2024, something to keep an eye on. He's really the ace of the staff overall, and if he goes down for any period of time, that's tough for the Astros, because also, you're 4-7 here. You didn't get off to a 7-4 start or something even better than that. That's going to be a tough scene as we welcome in the radio audience watching and listening live right here in studio. Ben Stevens, Donnie right side. It's the early line, Sirius XM channel 159. It's baseball season, Ben. It's baseball season.
DRS, we're talking about significant starters, Cy Young contenders, 3 of them in the last 72 hours in MLB that now have expressed elbow concerns. Shane Bieber for the Cleveland Guardians, Framber Valdez for the Houston Astros. On the other side of the National League, Spencer Strider of the Atlanta Braves. What is to blame, if anything? We are not sure at this moment, but it is cause for concern around MLB. An offensive affair, though, because in the opening part of that first inning, top half of the first, Houston scored 2 runs. Texas responds with 5 in the bottom. We saw all 15 runs in this game. All 15. Houston went over the pregame total by themselves, getting into double digits. By the time we ended the 5th inning in a huge game from Yordan Alvarez, 3, 4, 5, 3 RBIs, and a deep ball yesterday for the Astros, who are now 5-7 and have bounced back from the 0-4 start, of course being swept in their opening series of the year by the New York Yankees. Speaking of those New York Yankees, second home series of the season underway yesterday in the Bronx. It's actually nice in the Northeast today. Yesterday, and the Yankees take advantage, celebrating the good weather with a 7-0 win over the Miami Marlins. Hey, the Fish got their first win of the year on Sunday in St. Louis, but now Miami is 1-10.
Yeah, by the way, also, Garrett Cole starting to throw on the mound. So good vibes there from a guy we might have been lost from the year. And also, Nestor Cortez, who, if you guys remember, was the opening day starter for the New York Yankees. First 2 games here, trouble early innings. That didn't happen here. And quite frankly, 8 innings pitched, only 2 hits, no earned runs, 6 Ks, didn't even walk a guy. That's absolutely tremendous, the way that one played out here. But if we're looking from a Yankees perspective, we know they're going to be good. The question now comes up on the Marlins here at this point. What are we going to expect from the Marlins here on out? It looks terrible to start. And also, yes, hitting weather, small ballpark. You finally get out of that big cavern down in South Beach. You put up 2 hits, don't score a single run, and away you go the rest of your regular season. I mean, Miami 1-10 on the season to start.
When you look at the New York Yankees, however, you could not ask for more. Anthony Volpe gets the scoring started in the bottom of the 4th, 3-run home run. He is batting .417 this year. We share the WAR, the win above replacement. Yesterday, Volpe is second best in MLB, only behind Mookie Betts. And Juan Soto, what a tremendous start in pinstripes. Yesterday, 2-4-3, also a 3-run shot in the bottom of the 4th inning. He's batting .357. Another walk earned yesterday for the most patient hitter in all of MLB. So the Yankees off to a 9-2 start. They were booked as a pretty hefty home money line favorite yesterday, -154. But because Nestor Cortez shuts down the Fish on the other side, total of 8 does stay under. What a start this year it has been for both the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Detroit Tigers. And the Buccos keep it rolling. DRS, 2 teams in Major League Baseball at this moment. Only 2 teams have, actually 3 because the Dodgers did one yesterday. 3 teams in Major League Baseball have won 9 games. The Yankees, the Dodgers, but LA has played 13. And the Pittsburgh Pirates, a 7-4 victory yesterday at home over the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, we talked about it a few times already this year, and quite frankly, just about every year entering in here. You're taking a look at those April baseball teams by saying, well, we don't really expect too much out of this team, but you can still go toe-to-toe early. Pitching staffs aren't settled yet. Pitchers usually not going past the 7th inning. Bullpen still got to be determined, playing in 40 to 50-degree temperatures here. Once you hit May, June, and July, the cream is going to rise to the top. But don't tell that to the Pittsburgh Pirates here with a 9-2 start. That's absolutely fantastic. And we thought yesterday, Keller being that veteran on the mound going against a young guy in Olsen, maybe they had the advantage, and they certainly did. You see that Detroit opened up with a 1-0 lead, but then 5 straight runs in the second and third innings combined for the Pittsburgh Pirates really sealed the deal. Hitting the baseball, having good pitching, solid play in April. Let's see where the Buccos can take this, because the more you believe, just like we talk about underdogs all the time, let them hang around. They'll believe they're a really good baseball team, and they're doing it right now.
Mitch Keller, 6 innings of work yesterday, 98 pitches for the Buccos, 9 strikeouts in 6 innings for Mitch Keller. Our central focus takes us to Cincinnati up next, and it was a high-scoring affair in the Great American Ballpark. 10-8 the victory for the Reds over the Milwaukee Brewers. This game was a pick-em, -108 on both sides. The Reds eke out a victory. And when you look at this game, DRS, a huge one for Elly De La Cruz, one of the bright young stars for Cincy. The Reds off to a really good start this year as well.
And by the way, Steer's been great in that lineup, 378, went 1 for 5 yesterday, but punched in 2 RBI. And keep in mind as well, we still worry about bullpens, and, we talk about the NBA. Up 20 points, you lose the game. How can that happen? You take a look yesterday, an 8-0 lead here for the Cincinnati Reds at home, and it turned into a very close game. Something you'll see a lot here in the month of April. But the Brewers, 6-3 after that loss. The Reds, 5-4. It's going to be an interesting central race all the way through here, especially if teams like the Reds, Brewers, and Buccos all stay close together.
Elly De La Cruz, 3 of 4 yesterday, scored 4 runs, had 2 RBIs and 2 home runs. One was a true home run. The other one in the bottom of the 7th to really pace things for Cincinnati and add on their final offense of the game, and a key insurance run in the bottom of the 7th. Inside the park homer, a superstar for Cincinnati. Other notes and news from Major League Baseball yesterday. The Mets knock off the Braves in a thriller, 8-7. Again, the Dodgers pick up their 9th win of the year in Minneapolis against the Twins, 4-2. The Phils, a victory in extras against the Redbirds, 5-3. And the Blue Jays knock off the Mariners with a 5-2 score. The Cleveland Guardians, we talked about the injury to Shane Bieber, but they're 8-2. They've won 5 straight. The Guardians victorious yesterday as well. It's Masters Week. The Azaleas in full bloom at Augusta. We'll look at the odds up next.
Is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing a player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This week in the sports calendar is sensational. Final Four Friday night, women's NCAA tournament, Final Four Saturday, national championship game on Sunday, national title game last night, of course, on a Monday. A couple of days off, and then boom, 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 boom. The Masters at Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia. Here in the 2024 playing, we'll take an early look at those odds right here, right now. There is no better golfer on planet Earth at this current juncture than world number one, Scottie Scheffler. A victory at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, followed up the very next week by his second consecutive Players' Championship title, the unofficial fifth major in the world of golf. Now looking for his second green jacket at Augusta in the last 3 years. And he enters as a very short favorite. You don't need to know a lick about golf. You can think they use a putter off the tee. But just from the handicapping perspective, to see Scheffler at plus 450, half the price of the field and then some, tells you what, DRS, about the odds for the 2024 Masters?
That probably you should take that UConn basketball approach where you say, well, yeah, he's the best golfer, but I don't think he's going to win it because it's going to be really hard. Then only find him in the final group up 3 or 4 strokes coming down the back nine. Like, I probably should have taken that guy at that point. But it just shows to go the power. This isn't just your random tournament. This is one of the best fields you're going to find in professional golf. And the one thing that we do know, looking at the history of the Masters, superstars usually win this tournament. Mm-hmm. Great players. It's very rare, like, whoa, never heard of that guy until this weekend, and now he's going to win the Masters. That doesn't happen. That's an incredible price. So me typically looking at the price saying, well, I can't take him because it doesn't really match the field, only to do that same thing with UConn where it doesn't match the field. They easily win a national championship. So coming off UConn's win, maybe we should just be saying, well, Scheffler's the best. Let's just take him.
And it is fascinating, right? Because UConn in a single elimination tournament, needing 6 wins to win their second consecutive national championship. Not that there was any argument about the best team in a best of 7 or that Scottie Scheffler is the best golfer right now in everything that we will see sample size. But it's one tournament over 4 days, you hope, 72 holes in this very short outright price. But there has been some movement in the market. Rory McIlroy had the third best price when we did this a week ago. Jon Rahm, the defending champ, had the second best number. Now Rory has leapfrogged Rahm, 10-1 for McIlroy, 11-1 for Jon Rahm. Rory McIlroy looking to end out the career Grand Slam. He has yet to win at the Masters. He has not won a major championship now, DRS, in a decade, since the 2014 PGA Championship, second best price. And a lot has changed in the life of Jon Rahm since last year's green jacket and a ceremonious celebration in Butler Cabin. Of course, he is now a member of the LIV Golf Series. Although he is a LIV golfer, He's not all that happy outside of the money. He has been very blatantly honest. I took it because of the money they threw my way. And with all the uncertainty in the golf landscape, I thought I'd be playing against the PGA Tour by the time we teed off in this season. He has asked LIV Golf to get to 72 holes. There are only 54 holes in their tournament to replicate major championship golf and to play at your best level each and every week you are out there on the course throughout a season. We get the LIV golfers back into the field with the PGA Tour members as well. Brooks Koepka, 20-1, a 5-time major champion, 5th best price.
By the way, it's a great point you bring up here on Jon Rahm, because let's be honest, like the reason why a lot of these golfers went to LIV, number one, certainly is money.
Yeah.
But I'm going to play less tournaments, less time on the golf course, more time at home, more guaranteed money because nobody's getting cut here.
Yeah.
And Rahm is basically like, all right, thanks for $350 million. This place stinks. Let's go to 72 holes. Let's merge with the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Let me get back to my majors, but still let me keep that money. That's got to ruffle some feathers. It'd be like, come in here, Ben, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, the early line is a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
You come in and be like, you know what? I like it to be a 4-hour show. And everybody's like, oh, really? Do you like that? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You come and ruffle those feathers, which I like because the tour is better when the superstars are playing on a week-to-week basis.
sure.
But let's get back to the handicapping perspective on Jon Rahm. Is it going to be different here where he's only playing 3 tournaments here? There's music in the background. Guys are out there in shorts.
Yeah.
Make the cut, don't make the cut. Look at my bank account. It's really fat right now. So you're not really sharpening the knives against the best in the world and where you actually figure those LIV golfers will be. Now, I'm not doubting he can't win at the Masters, but it's just a little bit different than his normal routine here.
Certainly so, but we have seen the LIV golfers where last year the conversation was about the drama and the relationships back on the practice range, back on the first tee or the putting grounds with all of these guys out on the PGA Tour. It feels as though the drama has simmered between the individual players. Still a lot to figure out, of course, in the golf world, but we did see performances. Brooks Koepka won a major. We saw Phil Mickelson finish in a tie for second last year at Augusta, of course, behind Jon Rahm. But I do want to make this comparison because you look at the Scotty Scheffler numbers that we see here for the 2024 Masters that we saw for the Players' Championship and at the API earlier a month ago. And many have said, hey, that's approaching Tiger Woods category type numbers during Tiger's heyday. So if you put it into comparison, Tiger Woods won back-to-back green jackets in 2005 and 2006. He was plus money, but barely plus money in both of those events pre-tournament. But by the time they reached Augusta in 2007, Tiger Woods was minus 125 to win a green jacket. Scotty Scheffler not quite there, but you can see what the odds makers expect. A very good week. Plus 105 to finish top 10, minus 200, or plus 105 to finish top 5, minus 200 to finish top 10. Again, is there value in Scotty Scheffler? No. Is he probably going to cash at least one of those tickets? Yes.
Like a top 5 plus 105?
It's just...
like, that means you're basically within, like, a stroke or two
you are.
on Sunday. You might as well just take him to win the tournament because if he's that close, he might win it. And that price point is a ridiculous return. But let's get back to the Tiger Woods phenomenon that we saw roughly 20 or so years ago. The books had to protect themselves against Tiger Woods because if he won, everybody was betting him. Minus money to win a major. For anything go wrong with there's 75 other golfers that are basically your equal. Now, granted, we knew Tiger Woods, probably the best golfer, most talented golfer certainly of all time, would win his fair share, and he did. But that's ludicrous pricing right now. And you're right, Scheffler at a plus 450 price. Half. It's not like it's 450, 550, 650, 750. He's 450, and then everybody else. But I'm not going to be surprised when Scotty Scheffler on moving day is like, look at this. Scheffler just shot 600 par at Augusta, and he's back in this thing where he's winning it at that point.
Yeah, listen, it hasn't been a great year on the PGA Tour for many of the big names. In fact, it's been slightly uncharacteristic now with the marquee events and the elevated PGA Tour tournaments that we have seen. Some of the biggest names haven't been all that great outside of Scotty Scheffler. We saw Hideki Matsuyama win at Riviera earlier this year in Los Angeles at Tiger's event, which is where we last saw Tiger Woods on a golf course. He has rarely completed a 4-round tournament in the last few years. But of course, there is always hope when Tiger goes to Augusta. And this is why you always have to take heed of what Tiger is doing at Augusta. It is the only major championship that does not rotate between a variety of courses. It is always at Augusta National Golf Club. And Tiger knows it, and knows it very, very well. Now, he is going to play. We've heard reports from his friends, from those in his close inner circle, that he is cutting out even some extracurricular activities, if you know what I am talking about, to get ready for Augusta. I just hope to see him out there for all 72 holes to make the weekend, to play on Saturday and Sunday. And if he gives us the thrill of maybe in contention come the back nine on Sunday afternoon at the Masters, the golf world is better for it. To make the cut, minus 116. To miss the cut, pretty much the same number at minus 122 and 200 to 1 to win this tournament outright. Although it's 200 to 1, DRS, I still think the most exposure for the FanDuel Sportsbook is going to be on Eldrick.
No question about it. And also, you know what Mick told Rock back in the day, women weaken legs. That's what's happening here. So maybe a little bit stronger for Tiger Woods. But here's how I'm going to bet him here. FanDuel, day number 1. You know there's going to be a boost on Tiger Woods.
Yeah, for sure.
Just give us something for 3 to 4 birdies on day number 1.
Yeah.
We know Tiger's going to have his A game that day. His body probably won't hold up over the weekend. But Ben brought up a great point here. The reason why also we talk about the Masters as many great players have won there, it's because they know that golf course. They know exactly where to place the ball. Thousands of rounds Tiger Woods between practice and professional tournament play has been played there. He has an advantage. As long as his swing is in groove, he should be able to score. For me betting him long-term, no. Day number 1, we'll get a couple birdies, no doubt about it.
Those specials are out. 3+ birdies, minus 250. 4+ birdies, plus 120.
Boost it.
I still think he gets 4+ birdies.
He does.
Women weaken legs?
Women weaken legs.
That's what we're talking about for Tiger Woods. Around the association up next.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing a player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The association was off last night, giving due to college basketball in its national championship conclusion of this season. But now the NBA, over these next 5 days, is back in full force. And there is so much to figure out at the end of a regular season. Sunday is the regular season finale. All 30 clubs will be in action. 15 games to figure out those final seeds for the NBA postseason. Whether you are in the top 6 to advance right into the playoffs, or you're 7 through 10 and into the play-in tournament. So we go conference by conference to set the NBA playoff stage and scene for what you need to know here down the final 5 days of this NBA regular season. Now, there's one caveat to that. Pretty much everything has been figured out in terms of the 10 teams that will see the postseason, play-in tournament teams, playoff teams, a lot of seed lines to figure out, except in one area. That's the Boston Celtics as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, far and away. Boston right now has a 15-game advantage for that top spot over the Milwaukee Bucks. They have already clinched, have the Celtics the best record in the NBA. They will have home floor advantage inside TD Garden throughout the entirety of the NBA postseason. Eastern Conference playoffs and a potential NBA Finals as well, which is very good news, DRS, for C's backers, as they are 35-3 at home this season.
I mean, that's the key ingredient, right, overall. You just take a look at the Boston Celtics and say, well, home court advantage, how good are they on the season? They're fantastic. How good are they at home? Damn near unbeatable. Yeah. And that's certainly going to play into it. But bring up the Eastern Conference first. I love this. It's 1 through 10. Outside of the Boston Celtics, every single seed line is up for grabs.
For sure.
Whether it's 10 or 9, move up to 7 or 8, move from 7 or 8 into the top, 6, 5, 4, right up to Milwaukee, who looked like 3 weeks ago, well, all right, we're not going to catch the Celtics. Let's just not get injured. We're going to be the number 2 seed overall. Now you find themselves 1 game back of Orlando, 1 game back here, the New York Knicks, and 1.5 games above the Cleveland Cavaliers, heading down the stretch until that final on Sunday. If we're taking a look at who you're excited to bet, well, again, it's price point here. The Boston Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think they win it, but the price point is terrible at this point, where it's like, oh, no, if I go into the playoffs, things don't go my way, a guy or two gets injured, and I lose my money. You don't feel so bad when it's 8 or 9 to 1. Like, I took a shot at that.
Right.
But they're basically a favorite, and a deep favorite, to win that. But my focus has to be on the Milwaukee Bucks and what we're actually going to get out of them. Because we've talked about this so many times, whether it be the Phoenix Suns or just a team trying to head in the right direction. There's so many question marks on that team, which we should not have entering into the playoffs. And teams might be lining up going like, you know what? This is the team we want to actually play in the playoffs.
The Bucks have lost 4 straight games, booked as a favorite in all 4. They have lost 6 of their last 7, booked as a favorite in all 6. They lost to a shorthanded New York Knicks team at home on Sunday. It was their 4th consecutive loss. In that game, they were only a 4.5-point favorite. But in the previous 3, they were a double-digit favorite. Tonight, a 2-point home underdog inside the Pfizer Forum against the Boston Celtics. The C's, again, have clinched everything and yet are on a 5-game win streak because that's just how good they have been. So that's the minus 165 price on Boston. And that's the very interesting thing then, DRS, for those other top seeds. Right now, the Bucks, Magic, and Knicks would all host the opening round of the postseason. And the Bucks have that second-best number, plus 350. Is it justified to be even that close to Boston? We'll have that conversation a different day. But Orlando in the 3 spot, 85-1 for the best cover team in the association. The Knicks, who will be without Julius Randle for the entirety of the playoffs, 23-1. The Cavaliers on a slide. They have dropped 8 of their last 11. They are 15-1. And then let's go to the teams 6 through 10. Indiana, at this moment, dearly holding on to that 6th and final spot outside of the play-in tournament and into the regular playoffs. A full game lead over Philadelphia. Don't let those Sixers with JoJo get hot. And a 1.5-game advantage over the Miami Heat. But you even see Indiana, 55-1. Miami, who has been in 3 of the last 4 Eastern Conference Finals, 17-1. The Sixers are the only other team alongside Boston and Milwaukee, DRS, with 3 digits in their price. And that's because of Joel Embiid, plus 950. I think just a few weeks ago, that number was 12-1, 18-1. It was a much longer price when there was still some uncertainty around Joel Embiid's status for this playoff push.
Yeah, really climbing back. And also the reason why you're seeing the Sixers catapult back in here to not a favorite, but actually making some moves on that line is who they're actually playing. If you take a look at 1 through 10 right now in the East, it's a very simple measure here. Number one seed is going to be the Boston Celtics. Do we trust them? Absolutely. The best team in the NBA, the best record, and that says it. But I got to tell you something. Are you trusting the Bucks right now?
Yeah.
Nope. The Orlando Magic, they're having a great season, but boy, is this Magic team really going to make any waves in the playoffs when things really matter? You take a look at the New York Knicks, still injured here. Yes, Brunson's been great. Is DiVincenzo going to knock down 10 triples in a playoff run? Who knows at that point? The Cleveland Cavaliers, they shouldn't have any excuses here. Now, granted, Spider Mitchell's missed some time here, but when he's back, it's supposed to be a quality team. They're not great. The Pacers here, who knows what they're going to get here?
Right.
So I factor on the 7 and 8 seed. Is it to me the Boston Celtics, 1, and then the Sixers and the Heat are the 3 trustable teams here? Because I'm talking about when they're healthy. Yeah. When the Heat go out there with Eric Spoelstra in a full lineup, that zombie Heat team can beat you down. You saw last year. Just give me Jimmy Butler hot. He can knock anybody out. The Philadelphia 76ers are maybe the best basketball player when he's healthy, and Joel Embiid is coming back and looking healthy, and they're playing their best basketball. And we might have an NC State run to end the season before you get into the playoffs here. So I look at the Celtics, Sixers, and the Heat being live. I don't want anything to do with 2 through 6 right now, Ben.
I think it is really interesting as well to think about what the seeds positions would be for playoff series. And that's why it's so important for Philadelphia if they can catch Indiana for that 6th and final spot in the playoffs. Because if you win in the play-in tournament in the 7-8 game, you're the 7 seed. What would the 7 seed be as of this moment? Milwaukee only a game lead over Orlando right now because of how bad the Bucks have played. But a 2-7 matchup potentially, if the season ended today, it would be Milwaukee versus Philadelphia. You would have the 2nd and 3rd best prices to win the Eastern Conference crown facing off in the opening round of the playoffs. You don't want to be 4, 5, or 8 because then you're in Boston's portion of that Eastern Conference playoff bracket. But if you're Philly into the 6th spot, as of this moment, you would take on Orlando. The Sixers are going to be favored with Joel Embiid to win that series. And then you would get to the Eastern Conference semifinals against Milwaukee before you'd have to face off against the Boston Celtics. It is crucial positioning right now in the postseason. Now let's flip our attention to the Western Conference, where very much is up in the air, including that number 1 overall seed in the conference. Minnesota and Denver tied for the top spot at this current time, both 54 and 24. Only 4 games remain for both the T-Wolves and the Nugs. Oklahoma City, a game behind. A little bit of difference between those 3 top teams and the LA Clippers. 3 games of distinction between OKC and LA. But the Clippers, a huge victory to come back from down 26 against Cleveland on Sunday afternoon. Paul George hit the game winner with just 7 ticks remaining in regulation. The reason I say that is because the Clippers have provided a little bit of a cushion, a 2-game cushion in front of the Mavericks to host what would be the opening round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I love it. I love what's going on. And again, this is great here. The advent of the play-in rounds at the end of the season are great here because you have championship pedigree here as you take a look at the Western Conference. Look at the 10th seed. It's the Golden State Warriors. Multiple championships. The basis of that veteran team is still there. The Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James, and if he comes in healthy with Anthony Davis, they have a title under their belt. Who says they can't make a run this year? But then you take a look at that top. The Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference. We weren't worried about them for the last 3 months. They're the top seed. They're going to be the top seed, and that's the way it's going to be. But the Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Thunder all within a game of each other at the top is really fascinating to watch because for a while you thought the Timberwolves, at least I did, you know what? They're going to lose one of their big players in Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know how they can hold up. They're holding up very well. They're in first place right now. And the Denver Nuggets, who were like that 2-3 games back all season long, you saw them make that charge up to the top. Oh, look, it's going to be the Denver Nuggets and nobody else. And it looks like they're fighting them off. Oklahoma City Thunder also, even though they're only 5-5 in their last 10, still only a game back at this point. I'm fascinated at the top of that and also the bottom of the standings. But if we're looking from top to bottom in the East, we talk about 3 trustable teams. There's way more than that right now in the Western Conference.
Just let the odds tell the stories. There are only 3 teams in the Eastern Conference with 3 digits in their price, and Philadelphia is plus 950. There are 5 teams in the Western Conference at plus 850 or shorter, and you throw in the Dallas Mavericks now at 13-1, where Luka and Kyrie have something figured out. They've won 3 straight games. They've won 14 of their last 16. Dallas has covered in 14 of its previous 16 games as well. The Mavericks certainly making a charge for that top 4 to maybe host a playoff series to begin. And now we go to play-in tournament category in the Western Conference. Phoenix 46-32. New Orleans 46-32. The Pels a big victory over Phoenix In Phoenix on Sunday, the Suns continue to fail to make statements when they need to at their best. Sacramento only a game behind both Phoenix and New Orleans. And the Lakers on a charge. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're a half game behind Sacramento for the 8th spot, which is important. 7 versus 8 in the play-in tournament. You get 2 chances to see the playoffs. You win that game, you're the 7 seed. If you lose, you face the winner of the 9-10 game. So it is important in terms of even the play-in tournament positioning for Los Angeles and Sacramento.
And no layups, man. No matter who you're playing in the West, there's no layups in any round. And you want to be in that pressure between 7 to 10 right now. The Pelicans, who, again, leave a lot to be desired, super talented here, but sometimes not putting it together. Same thing with the Sacramento Kings. I lump them into the same ingredient here. And then you're going to have to take on the Lakers and the Warriors in playoff mode, who knows how to win. But take a look at those teams. The Phoenix Suns, the Pelicans, the Kings, and the Lakers, all lumped up there within a game and a half of each other with 3 games to play. Should be so much fun. And there are going to be big losers here because some of these teams like the Phoenix Suns winding up there being a play-in team, and then you're looking at OKC, Denver going like, wait a second, round number 1, it's the Suns here? Incredible stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we saw it last year, right? The Lakers, a play-in tournament team. They get out of the play-in tournament all the way to the Western Conference Finals. That's where things stand right now around the association. We will take a look at this Tuesday in Major League Baseball on the other side of the break. Don't worry, 14 games in the NBA. On this Tuesday night, we'll have a bunch of previews, picks, and breakdowns into our third and final hour. But it's the Daily Diamond Dash up next, live right here on the Early Line.
Is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing a player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
A pretty jam-packed Tuesday around Major League Baseball on the diamond. Into the second week of this MLB season, pretty much every team has now played 10 games. Of course, there's some delays, some postponements early on with the bad weather, but today in the Northeast, it's going to feel like spring and maybe even an early peak at summer. So we start at Fenway Park, where it's going to be gorgeous today for some day baseball between the Red Sox and the Orioles, an AL East divisional showdown. Corbin Burns on the bump for Baltimore, their new ace, who was sensational in his debut for the O's on opening day. Baltimore 5-4 to start this year, a winning record. They've dropped 2 in a row, however. The Red Sox, who were expected to be at the cellar of the American League East, actually the second best mark at this moment, 7-3. But it's the Baltimore Orioles, a road favorite, minus 138 on that money line with Burns on the bump.
Yeah, you're taking a look at Burns here being the premier pitcher in this game. We love the way he started off the season here for the Orioles, but also to that similar effect. You're going to get some decent temperatures there in Boston today, close to 60 degrees. However, right field conditions, the wind is blowing in at about 10 miles per hour, so maybe keeping it in the ballpark a little bit there. But let's focus here on what really makes sense, and that's that Baltimore Orioles lineup going against Brian Bayo today. If you look at last year, 343 batters that Bayo faced from the left-hand side, they really got the best of them, guys. 206 ISO power number, weighted on base percentage 380, and also combined, if we include right-handed batters and left-handed batters, a 190 ISO, which is slightly elevated, and a 340 weighted on base percentage, also slightly elevated. So let's fast forward here to 2024. Against right-handed batters, he has been terrible here. A 429 ISO power number and a weighted on base percentage of 381. That's only 21 batters, but it's a decent sample size enough. Left-handed batters who we really struggled with last year, actually not struggling so much this year at a 158 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 337. But let's take a look at that Baltimore lineup, which has been deadly against right-handed pitching so far this season. Gunnar Henderson, if we're just looking at ISO power numbers here, which tells you, hey, if that guy can get up to the plate, crush a double, crush a triple, or a home run into the seats, that's the easiest way to score runs. And again, about 170 is what you want to look for at the Major League Baseball level as an ISO power number. Anything above that, you're above the Major League Baseball average. Gunnar Henderson, 421. Santander, 227. Mountcastle, 333. O'Hearn, 353. Mullins, 368. Westberg, 278. And Kowser, 222. So 7 out of the 9 batters way up on ISO power numbers. You got a better pitcher and a better lineup here. Baltimore's probably the play today.
8.5 is that total today in Fenway Park between the Red Sox and the Orioles. When you look at Corbin Burns in his first 2 starts for the Baltimore Orioles, both at Camden to start off his time. In his most recent start against the Royals, 5 2/3, did give up 9 hits and 2 earned runs, only 3 Ks. But still, Baltimore won that game 4-3. In his opening game in Baltimore for the O's, he went 6 innings of work, gave up 1 hit. It just happened to be a home run to Mike Trout, but 11 Ks in that moment as well. The Orioles have won both games that Corbin Burns has started on the bump. They're the road moneyline favorite today in Boston against the Red Sox. That is one of 2 day baseball games. Also that intriguing start to this matchup between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Detroit Tigers. Casey Mize on the bump for the Tigers, but with Martin Perez on the bump for the Buccos, they're a slight home favorite, minus 120. So 2 day baseball games, 13 starting in the evening hours, a jam-packed slate, a full slate on this Tuesday in Major League Baseball, all 30 clubs in action. And the hottest team at the moment, the Cleveland Guardians. They've won 5 straight games, and they're greater than a $2 favorite at home today against the Chicago White Sox. Over-under is 9. So with how great the Guardians have been to start this year, despite the injury news to Shane Bieber, they're 8-2. The White Sox have been polar opposite. They've lost 5. They're 1-9.
Yeah, not looking good here today either for the Chicago White Sox. Soroka due up on the mound, the right-handed pitcher for them last year. Only 191 batters that he did face. Take a look at this, though. ISO power number combined between lefties and righties last year, 269. That's terrible. Weighted on base percentage, 388. Everybody was participating here, Ben, and knocking him around. Now let's take a look at what he's been doing this season. Did he improve on that? Did he not improve? Only 46 batters that he's faced, but it's been terrible. Right-handed batters, a 280 ISO power number. Left-handed batters, a 222. If we look at the weighted on base percentages here as well, 381 the lefties, 397 to to right-handed batters. You take a look at the lineup, who has done some very good things here for Cleveland so far in the early season. The top part of that lineup is where you want to focus on. First four batters there, 185 for Quan, ISO power number going up against right-handed pitching in 2024. You take a look at Ramirez at 179 and Naylor 182. It's not a potent, powerful lineup, but you're also basing it off of Major League Baseball hitters going up against a pitcher that has really struggled last year, Ben, and also this season as well. But for Chicago, let's dip into it here. Logan Allen's a left-handed pitcher on the mound. Is he fantastic? Not necessarily, but this year dominated against lefties, but again, only 4 to 5 at-bats that he's faced them against. Right-handed batters, 500 ISO power number, and a weighted on-base percentage of 501, which basically means everybody getting up is knocking a double off of the wall, if not more, in a home run. Now, here's the problem. 21 batters faced, not a big sample size. But if we don't have a big sample size from this pitcher to start the season, even less of a sample size as we take a look at a left-handed pitcher going up against the White Sox here and their offense. Let's go over ISO power numbers here and have fun, Ben. You ready for this one? Against lefties, this tells you how bad Chicago's been. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0.
Yeah.
So good luck getting extra base hits today. I know it's early. Just doesn't factor in well for the White Sox, man.
Listen, Chicago has played 10 games. They have scored a total of 15 runs. Brutal. They were shut out yesterday in Cleveland in the home opener in the land for the Guardians. Jose Ramirez, a 2-run bomb in the 5th that really patted the lead for Cleveland. That was the 4th time the Southsiders have been shut out this year. It is going to be bad for the White Sox all year long. The only redeeming factor, 1-9, 10 games. They are 5-5 on the run line. Of course, not covering the run line yesterday, losing by 4. Two teams we expect to be in contention for American League wildcard spots face off tonight in Toronto. It's the Blue Jays and the Mariners. As I look for this number, the Toronto Blue Jays, a slight home favorite at -110. Chris Bassett on the bump for the Jays. On the other side, it's George Kirby for Seattle. Very close distinction in those moneyline prices, DRS. What gives today up north?
Yeah, maybe taking a look at George Kirby. Last year had a very solid season here, Ben. ISO power number combined between lefties and righty batters of 143 and a weighted on base percentage 284. Again, the weighted on base percentage is usually around like at 320 to 325 range. That's average, meaning if you're a pitcher, anything above that, not really good territory. Anything below that, very good. And he was at a 284. Let's flip it over to this year. Even better, 24 batters that he's faced this season. How about the ISO power number? 0. How about the weighted on base percentage? 132. And he's a right-handed pitcher, so typically you might say, well, the lefties might be getting over early, Ben, on some of these lineups. Not the case here. Even when you look at Toronto, struggling a little bit at the plate. This season, a lot of these guys have 25 to 30 at-bats, so a decent sample size. Springer, Vladimir Guerrero, and Kevin Biggio all have elevated ISO power numbers. The remaining 6 batters, which is Bo Bichette, Justin Turner, Alejandro Kirk, Dalton Varsho, Connor Falefa, and Kiermaier, all really bad against right-handed pitching. So without going into even the opposite side, I got the better pitcher on the mound today, and it looks like I have the better lineup technically on the field as well. Maybe a little M's action for me.
Nobody for the Jays this year in that starting lineup yesterday, and they did win 5-2 over Seattle in the openers, batting above 300 or better right now. Justin Turner, best batting average at .290. Luis Castillo on the bump yesterday. It was an aces affair between Jose Barrios for Toronto and Luis Castillo on the other side for Seattle. Castillo is struggling this year, and there was a lot of optimism for the Mariners based on this starting staff. Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, who is on the mound today. Castillo is 0-3 this year. Got rocked yesterday. 5 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs. He is a 6.89 ERA to begin this season for Seattle. Again, 0-3 for the Mariners. He has made 3 starts. He has lost every one. The Mets win a thriller yesterday on the road in the ATL, booked as a hefty underdog. Charlie Morton was on the bump for the Braves. They were greater than a $2 price on the money line. Atlanta's still a hefty favorite today, -188 against New York, +160 on the other side for the Amazons. Total at 9.5. Yesterday's game well over. More offense today in Atlanta?
Probably some offense here. Let's take a look at the weather conditions. 65 degrees here, so not that temperatures that we're looking at down there in the Big A. And also winds blowing in from right field at 5 miles per hour. That's not really going to matter all that much. They got some pretty good bats on both sides here, particularly as we fire up and take a look at the Atlanta Braves. If we're looking here at the numbers, Adrian Hauser on the mound, decent pitcher last year, 500 batters he's faced, and ISO power number of 129 combined, which is really good, which means he's keeping the ball in the park. And if you limit it to singles, you're not really going to get damage because of Major League Baseball, as we know. The innings aren't built on 3 singles. They're built on a single, double, and maybe a home run to drive in some of those runs. But let's take a look at the Atlanta Braves lineup. Here's why you love them. And as an RBI guy, I love to back them. Yesterday, Ben, just dabbling around. took 4 players on this baseball team just to get a base hit for some action. Nailed it yesterday because it seems like every single player in this lineup can hit. Just look at the weighted on base percentages here against right-handed pitching on this early season. Most of these guys are around 20 at-bats. 395, 409, 378, 466, 556, 47, 424, 597. It's almost like a video game right now that you're playing. Hard to go against the Atlanta Braves here because the one thing we do know, if they're going to struggle on the mound, they're going to hit their way out of these struggles. They're really good at the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. So 8-7 was the win yesterday for New York. Atlanta scored 2 runs in the 8th and the 9th to really make things a little bit interesting in that matchup. Excuse me, not even just 2 runs. 2 runs, 8-5. That was the score. I was correct. Anyway, Brandon Nimmo, big day yesterday. 2 home runs for New York, his first 2 long balls of the year. Again, Atlanta, a hefty favorite today, minus 188 on that money line. The Dodgers continue their Midwest trip. They dropped the weekend series in Wrigley against the Cubs, but they win the opener yesterday in Minneapolis. The Dodgers are going to be booked as a favorite in pretty much every game, and we see that once again. Tyler Glass now on the mound for L.A., minus 188 the price on the money line.
Yeah, take a look. It's interesting because the Dodgers, again, you're going to see these price points quite a bit, and when it's a little bit lower, you sort of scratch your head and like, am I being set up at this point right now? Why are the Dodgers only 136 or 150 at this point? A little bit higher today, and rightfully so. Varland's an average pitcher at best. Glass now by far is the better pitcher in this matchup. But if we're taking a look and say, you know what, there's different ways to bet the Dodgers and laying a minus 188, which includes taking some RBI props. Mookie Betts has been on fire. Shohei Ohtani coming into his own now, and Freddie Freeman has been absolutely electric yesterday. In the 2 props I took yesterday, one on Betts and one on Freeman, came away with plus money. You could probably do the same thing today. If you take a look at Varland last year, combined between lefty and righty batters, a 236 ISO and a 347 weighted on base percentage. Not very good. Also keep in mind, only 58-degree temperature today, but the wind is blowing out, Ben, about 10 miles an hour, so it might help a little bit. Look at the top of that lineup for the Dodgers, and if we're focusing on this year, left-handed batters is where I want to get after Varland. Again, only about 12 to 15 that he's faced, but a high ISO power number at 364. So if I'm looking for a focus right now and say, where can I make money? There's a lot of lefties in that lineup today that we're anticipating for the Dodgers, but pick me out Ohtani. Pick me out Freeman here. They've been devastatingly good against right-handed pitching. One of those guys will get you an RBI, and they're probably plus money right now as we sit.
4th start already for the newest Dodger in Tyler Glass now. He is 2-0 this year with a 3.18 ERA, but has given up a home run in both starts stateside. Of course, started the opener in Seoul, South Korea. Something to keep in mind with that wind blowing out today in the Twin Cities. We go from the Dodgers, who are in Minneapolis, to the Angels, who are in Anaheim. The Halos have not been as bad in the first 10 games as many expected. A 6-4 record, but a home underdog today against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Looking to take some unders here. Now, granted, you say, well, Donnie, you usually take unders when you're playing in the Trop. Well, this one's going to be in Los Angeles, but still pitcher's ballpark out there in Anaheim. If we're lining up these two pitchers, Patrick Sandoval's a name that doesn't get tossed around a lot. Why? Because he plays for the Angels, and there's no really high-leverage situations for him. But last year, 665 batters he's faced. Look at the ISO power number, Ben. A 188, and he is a lefty, which usually can trip up a lot of these lineups. If we flip it over to the other side, Savali will be on the mound, and you take a look at his numbers last year. Very good, 526 batters. You take a look at his ISO power number, 128. Give me the under in this game. So we're back to 2 pitchers against 2 lineups that questionable at best, I would say, if you're going to be getting hits.
8.5 in Anaheim. DRS likes the under. Again, a full Major League Baseball slate on this Tuesday. 2-day games. It starts bright and early in just about 2.5 hours in Pittsburgh between the Pirates and the Tigers. We showed you the one in Fenway Park between the Red Sox and the Orioles. And then 13 games that start a little bit after 6 p.m. Eastern time through the rest of your Tuesday evening in MLB. One final look back on this college basketball season and the big dance is up next.
Is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
the fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing the player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2023-24 college basketball season has come to a close, as has our second hour, live right here on this Tuesday on the early line. Maybe it hasn't actually come to a close yet. Still a couple more minutes before we get to the top of the hour, and hour number 3. He's Donnie Rightside. I'm Ben Stevens. We're live in person here in studio. Coming up in our third final hour, it is the coach, James Young, JY, for one final bow tie on this year in college basketball. But we wanted to hear from you, as we always do, to end out the second hour. Which NCAA tournament did you enjoy more, the men's or the women's? That was the question in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid.
Yeah.
No TV. At SportsGrid on Twitter on this Tuesday morning, which NCAA tournament did you enjoy more, the men's or the women's? And it's nearly a dead heat. We saw more love for the women's in the early votes, but now the men's NCAA tournament has caught up. 51% for the men's, 49% virtually for the women's. Which way did Donnie Rightside vote?
I actually voted for the women's tournament here. Now, granted, the only reason I voted that way for captivating moments for me throughout the tournament. I love the men's tournament. I love the women's tournament. I typically don't even pay any attention to the women's tournament. So I felt like since I was paying much more attention this year, and Caitlin Clark is a generational player, I had to go that route here. So I went with the women's.
I also voted for the women's tournament just because I thought the superstars in the storylines, in the style of basketball, was sensational. We got a couple of better games in the Final Four as well. I thought UConn, Iowa, early in the national championship game between Iowa and South Carolina. However, I disagree with this premise. Just in general, I don't think we need to compare and contrast men's and women's college basketball. We can just enjoy and appreciate both. That is my thought on it. It is what we do. We have to appreciate both. Both are at an important time in their history, and both are excelling in terms of audience, betting handle, and our coverage here on SportsGrid. Hour 3 of the early line starts in less than a minute.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.